Donald Trump was not alone in his mistreatment by legacy media. In the 2019 Democratic primary debates, presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard had her face digitally altered on live television. NBC motion tracked a fake blemish onto Gabbard's face, which would frequently vanish and reappear in real time.
Far more costly than anything that we ever saw in Iraq. It would take many more lives. It would exacerbate the refugee crisis.
Did anybody after the debates mention it to you that this strange thing seemed to happen?
No, I had no idea. You guys are clearly on it. When I saw it, I was like, that wasn't there. That wasn't there at all yesterday. And then to see it disappear was very strange.
I'm here with Ian Curl, and Donald Trump was asked about a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, and here was his response.
Its term today, Mr. President.
Say it.
The Supreme Court is back, and they rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance of getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I like how he pretends not to recall her name.
Yeah, like, okay.
He does, however, remember her voluminous breasts. I'll tell you that. So here we go. Watch this.
You know, I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly.
So he's going to take a look at it. You know, every photo of him with her, he's definitely taking a look at those photos.
Yep.
I wish people would stop reading more into Donald Trump looking into a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. He just believes in a woman's right to be the chief groomer and handler for Jeffrey Epstein. That's all, right?
Yeah, it was such an affront to everything that America stands for when we convicted the woman of a sex trafficking pedophile ring. And that's why she was in prison, because she went to court, had her day in court, and was proven guilty by a jury and was sentenced. And then a couple years later, there's the Epstein scandal, and the Trump administration just decided to interview her like several months ago and ask her what her side of the story was and publish it as though it was like evidence or something like that. When like the whole point of why she's in prison is because she is a convicted sex trafficker and she lied about all of her testimony. And then the DOJ just said, okay, give us all of your lying testimony all over again. And then they move her to a less secure prison and give her all these little special sweetheart treatments. And now they're floating this idea of a pardon because she just gave us the exact same lies that are provably lies all over again. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that someone would go to prison for sex trafficking who trafficked them to nobody.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
If only there was any evidence, if only there was any leads, any way to figure out who they might have been trafficking them to, let alone who was helping with the trafficking. I mean, I always try to point out that we know who the helpers were. Like, we know who the other assistants in the house were, like Leslie Groff, like Sarah Kellen. Those people are just walking around free, and they organized everything. They had the notes, they had the timeline, like the calendar. They know all sorts of stuff about who was involved. But then there's also the financing, like Leslie Wexner. There's Ehud Barak. There's just so many leads just sitting out there on the table. And they're very content to just pretend like they have no idea what happened and no way to investigate it further. And Cash has really burned his reputation to the ground on that one. One of the most striking and pathetic turnarounds we've ever seen in American politics, as far as I'm aware.
I haven't seen anything like that in my lifetime. It's stunning.
Yeah,
it's stunning. In fact, Mike McRae, our voice impressionist, did an impression of him, and it's our most liked comedy sketch in a long time. So people are going crazy over Kash Patel's ridiculousness. It's ridiculous. Nobody looks guiltier than that guy when he's such a bad liar.
He makes these crazy faces. His eyes are just like constantly. It's like either you just did an entire bag of blow, or there's something really wrong going on inside the head there, bro. Like it. We all had such high hopes for him, I think, because of how he went after the January 6th stuff and how he just seemed so anti-deep state and so ready to tell it like it was.
His Russiagate,
because he was saying release the Epstein files.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, I mean, he was good on Russiagate, and and then all of a sudden he gets to the position of power and he just completely shits the bed.
Yeah.
But I wanted to show you this. So Candace Owens has a new theory.
There's a lot to unpack here.
It's not just one shooter, she says. Let's listen.
The wiser, right? No one else is telling us anything or showing us anything. And I think they were going to say, or the other option, like it completely took his neck out. We wouldn't have been any wiser. But then I watched it, and the thing that jumped out at me was that not only did the bullet not pierce through, that there wasn't a single dot of blood on Charlie's bleach white shirt until he falls out of frame and onto the ground. I think we accidentally ruined what they were going to try to do to frame this. I think they wanted this to be 30-6 narrative. And now they're going to have a lot of difficulty getting that through a courtroom. They panicked, tried to explain it away. They're saying that it's a miracle. I don't think it is. It obviously was not a miracle. I think it is likely that what we should be looking for are two people that had weapons that day. Somebody that was in the audience, somebody that was elsewhere with a rifle. That explains also why, by the way, when I take a look, there's so many adults. There's no UVU kids that were in the mainstream media. Cooper's not even a UVU kid. He's not a TPUS kid. Why were they not able to find UVU students to say what it is that they heard and what they saw that day? And what's really interesting is I told you guys already about Nick, who has been assisting me on the ground. And one of the first things he said to me was that I felt like they were coming around, the feds were coming around, and they were trying to implant memories into our heads. So he was like, I felt like there were these people walking around that we didn't recognize, and they were like, you heard one shot, we heard one shot, we heard one shot. And he's like, I know that sounds weird and conspiratorial, but it seems like they were trying to make us believe that this is what we heard. And it's interesting also because remember, when Phil Lyman gave us his footage and he walks outside of that building, the two now infamous goth girls who are not goth at all and they're just wearing black, they say that they heard two shots. They never made it to Fox News. They never made it to the mainstream media, but they too also said that they heard two shots. Take a listen.
You see where that came from? It was right here, wasn't it?
It was like over here.
Yeah.
Two shots.
What can I say, guys? I think it's pretty obvious that our instincts about this have been correct from the very beginning. We probably need to be now looking for a shooter that was in the audience and to the left. I've seen you guys. I saw some guy on Alex Jones that created he created a whole web and explained and did this all on a computer of where the trajectory would have to go. We need you again, ballistic YouTubers, gun people, gun enthusiasts, military men, the people that they're discounting and saying you have no right to get clicks. No, please get clicks. Explain to us what it is that you know in this decentralized intelligent agency, given the information that I am telling you, okay, that it had it. Unless we have a bullet that's doing the worm like a WWE wrestler, okay? Bullets fire straight. And this one went straight into the front left lower side of his neck, essentially exploded his artery and did not exit out of the back. But that is where a bullet fragment was found. So map it out for us.
So, Ian, she's saying there's a distinct possibility there was two shooters and another people were reporting that they heard two shots. Of course, none of those people who say that have been interviewed on any of the corporate news or any news. So take it where you will.
There is one exception to that rule that she's done such a great job of pulling literally everything that happened and sourcing all the data. And there was one guy that just happened to be there, and he's already was a Fox News contributor, and he was a former Utah politician or something, so he had the chops to get on to mainstream media, and he witnessed it, and he did a number of hits with Fox right early on before they kind of shut him down, I think. And she played some of his clips on the show where he was saying, and he was actually pushing back against the low C center theory, the mainstream narrative, and saying that he thought it was probably from much closer. I don't think he was saying 2 shots, but he was saying he thought it was from much closer. But there's a lot to unpack about this clip. And actually, shameless plug, I'm going to be going live on my channel after we're done here talking tonight on YouTube to try to unpack a lot of this and other stuff around the Charlie Kirk situation, because what she just said is sort of 2 different things at once. One is the evidence that she saw, and the other is what that evidence implies. But she spoke about it in a way that sort of blended the 2 together without it being super clear which was what was stuff that she saw for sure in the report or in the leaks that she's getting and what is being extrapolated. And what I'm hearing is that the bullet fragment found in his neck shoulder area is from the report. And that's the evidence that she saw. But that means that it for sure was a shot from the front, I think is extrapolation, because she saw no blood in the video that she saw, and because there's a bullet fragment. I think it's kind of getting pieced together that way. I think there is a possibility that there might be an entrance wound on the back still, because entrance wounds often do not bleed. They're often not visible immediately. They're often very, very small. And there sort of is a lot of reporting coming out from Stephen Gardner and Brandon Tatum, a lot of sort of the TPUSA aligned folks that are talking about damage to his spine all the way from C2 near the top of his neck, all the way down to C7 at the base of his neck. And the angle that the bullet is coming in at from the front, from an elevated position, if it was on the low C center roof, it wouldn't be, the C2 vertebrae is way up behind your jaw from the front. And so for damage to happen to the C2 vertebrae, if that reporting is accurate, is not really possible with a shot from the front, at least not expected in the way that we think. And so I'm still kind of holding multiple possibilities in mind, but a shot from the front from a much closer distance with a smaller caliber gun definitely aligns with what we see better. And so I'm really looking forward to what the experts say, because I'm definitely not a ballistics expert, but a lot of great ballistics experts have been unpacking all of the elements of the ballistics, from the crack bang analysis to the visual that we have of the wounds from the videos. And so I'll be really curious to see what they put out over this weekend on the topic.
So you're talking about, so if he was shot by the person that the FBI says shot him, and from where he shot him, the angle would be coming like this, and there's no way it could hit the C2 vertebra unless it went through his mouth.
Exactly.
So if it came in here, it wouldn't be able to hit that, just like you said, that vertebra, which is up behind his jaw. And so that does, so it really, it lends itself more to the idea that there was another shooter with a lower caliber bullet and shot him from the crowd.
And it also gets into another part of what's so fishy about all of this, what's got so many conspiracy theories flying around, is that the first thing you do in a murder by gunshot is you get the bullet, because the bullet is what matches the crime to the gun.
Right.
And the gun is a very specific rifle. It's almost suspicious how specific this rifle is. It is a family heirloom, antique, one-of-a-kind rifle that we know for sure is owned by Tyler Robinson, because he was the shooter, damn it. And so without the bullet to link it to the gun, there's not that is, and I was literally just talking to a really good friend of mine who's a Boston cop that's done countless homicide investigations. That's the first thing he said, is that you need the bullet to link to the gun. And if there's no exit wound, as Candace describes, comes in from the front, the bullet is still in there somewhere. And ostensibly, they should have it. Candace's theory is that the body may have been tampered with before it got to the medical examiner, and they may have extracted the bullet so that it can't be, analyzed in this way. And that's certainly possible. I mean, that, all sorts of shades of JFK in that kind of a theory. But not having the bullet in there is extremely suspicious, no matter how you slice it.
So, great work, Candace. Again,
Absolutely.
Look for a second shooter, and there's no way that bullet came in at that angle and hit his C2 vertebra. There's no way.
No.
And if it was a 30-06, it would have blown his head clean off.
Yep.
And there wouldn't have been. It's obvious. And so here's one more thing.
I love Valhalla VFT. He's done great reporting on the topic.
Yes. So he's an ex-Green Beret, and he shot a lot of people, I guess. And and he also did a stream with a medic who's taking care of a lot of people with gunshots. And they keep pointing out that the people who were taking care of Charlie immediately afterwards, well, first thing you would do is you would take gauze and you would put it over the carotid artery, but they didn't have any blood on them. No blood. Well, let's watch.
Has any blood on their hands at all. And I can tell you, as a guy who's literally treated gunshot wounds in combat myself, this is not a thing. This is probably the most suspicious. Everything I've seen, this drives me the most crazy. As you watch this, guys, we're talking about a gunshot wound to the carotid artery. All of these guys.
And look at this guy in brown right here with the striped shirt.
Big old.
I mean, he's smiling. He's acting like he just opened a Christmas present here.
And I want you to watch it. Okay, we're handing things off, but as we're handing things off, no blood. No one has any blood.
And what are they handing off? They're handing off things. Go ahead.
I'm not super convinced that it's a handoff, at least not that one specifically. There are other handoffs that I think are more for sure. But I'll get into it at the end, because Paramount Tactical did a great response video to this video, and Paramount Tactical is another. I think he's ex-Special Forces. He's definitely ex-military, and he is also he's certified to train specifically gunshot wound care, and he did an awesome response to this that sort of walked you through how it's done, that we can get into after the video. But he slowed down this handoff thing on this specific example, and it made it more clear that maybe like it might really just be him pointing and the other guy kind of trying to help and kind of getting in there flustered and grabbing his hand and realizing he's like, oh no, he's telling me to turn around and go get something from over there. So I'm not sure.
All right, so there's a little bit more to this.
On their hands. So here's what I'm going to say, Alex. I'm not trying to point fingers or conspiracies, but I want to know, why did nobody try to save his life? No one there is stopping the bleeding. Not one person put their fingers in Charlie Kirk's neck or their hands. This is
remember when you first came on 2 weeks ago, that's when all my security guys, they're all former special operations, they said the way they run around like they have something planned, but it's nothing they've ever seen. They don't know the hand signs. They're picking things up. And they said that what they see is premeditation, but they don't know what it is. And now this no blood thing and the looks on their faces like they're taking a Sunday walk. This is weird.
So again, I want to make it clear. For most of the viewers out there have not treated a human being that's been shot. Okay. Those of us that have know blood is everywhere, Alex. It is, I don't want to say the F word, everywhere.
Blood is fucking everywhere.
It's fucking everywhere. It'd have been over everybody's hands. It would have been over all of their shirts, pants, especially an artery shot like that. It's not possible that just no one has any blood on even their hands. So to me, what I want to know now is, you know why I was very suspicious about why we're not getting this high fidelity camera footage from right behind Charlie Kirk. And now I want to know, show me that footage. Because that footage is going to show me exactly what you're doing to treating Charlie Kirk.
Bingo.
And I think, again, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. Alex, I think, I've been on your show enough times that you would agree. I'm very level headed with this stuff. Tell me why, Turning Point, no one treated Charlie Kirk. No one tried to stop the bleeding. You can see it right here. No blood on anyone's hands. Weird things being passed off. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. So I'm not willing to say this is nefarious, but I am willing to say nobody tried to save his life. I'm 100% confident in that. I can watch it right here in front of me. And then the question is why?
Well, I've seen the blown up videos of them when they're taking.
So that's kind of a big, I know you talked about this too, Ian, about how
absolutely
none of those people have blood on them and there's supposed to be blood everywhere. So what do you make of that?
It was such a great point that he brought up, and he was referencing his other friend's channel that is also ex-military. He brought on, like you said, Sticky Green Beret, who was a combat medic. So it's really cool to see the decentralized information space kind of bringing experts around these different problems to solve them and having complex conversations. And I saw this obviously and was like, well, that is an incredible point, and that's extremely suspicious. And then just today, I watched a video by Gary from Paramount Tactical that I wouldn't say debunks this by any means, but it certainly helped to sort of argue the other side of the story from an expert take that does not feel biased in any way. And Gary did not make the claim that like for sure debunk. He just was saying that like basically he, with a dummy that he uses for training bloodshot or gunshot wounds, he showed on a dummy with a blood packet that has a tube that squirts how he would treat the wound, how he would pack it, how much blood he got on his hands when he was doing it. And just basically to show that you wouldn't necessarily expect blood on everybody's hands, but at least on the guy who is treating the wound. And there's only one hand that we didn't see in that video. It's the balding gray hair guy in the middle with the glasses are on all of them. And it's his right hand. That's the only hand we didn't see. So we are to believe that he treated this gunshot wound with only one hand. And then the point of it being an artery is also very relevant, that arteries spurt blood all over the place. So the only way that the artery is not spurting blood all over the place is if the heart is not beating, which is possible with the amount of damage done to Charlie's spine, apparently, based upon his posturing as he falls over. It's called decorticate posture, where he kind of turns his hands inwards and sort of freezes up. That does indicate such significant trauma to the spine and brain not by my understanding, but by experts that are analyzing this, that could stop the heart and maybe have blood not spurting out of the artery. But you're starting to get a lot of conditions that are all sort of like a little bit of a stretch that all have to come together for this footage to show no blood on anyone's hands except maybe one hand. Kind of weird. So people have diverted into two theories around this. And one is this, like, the conspiracy that it's all faked. Charlie's not dead. It's all staged. The whole world's a stage. Nothing's even real. It's like, yeah, I'm not buying that at all. But I'm listening to them, but I'm not buying it. Or at least I'm not, assigning any certainty to that at all. But then the other more sort of like, obvious question here is, did they attempt to treat the wound at all? And I think that, I'm going to watch the experts, these military guys, debate this more over the next week as they go back and forth in videos. But I think that we have some pretty serious questions about that security team, which my understanding is that Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk had actually bought that security company a couple of years ago, and that security company has a lot of ties to a certain foreign nation. I'm not making any specific accusations about them. I don't know what the story is there. But I think that we're onto something when we ask about that footage from behind, because it seems a little suspicious.
Well, it's just amazing that they're not releasing the autopsy. We know they had to have done an autopsy because an autopsy is required by law. So I'm sure they would do that. But why not release it then? Why? What? In some
and it would clearly put an end to all the conspiracy theories. It would solve everything. It would. And the problem is that at this point, they've botched the case so bad that if they released the autopsy today, half the internet wouldn't believe it was real. And I'm not sure that I would either, because we've seen autopsies tampered with many times in the past. We've seen coroners and medical examiners be corrupted intentionally for this exact purpose many times in the past.
Yes.
Right? It's like one of the first things that comes up in all of these kind of like JFK, the autopsy and the medical examiner was a key part of the initial cover-up that was like, without that piece, everyone in America would have known right away about what was wrong with it. But as it was, they were able to kind of cover some of that up and keep it kind of in the realm of conspiracy until the Zapruder film came out.
And so another thing that is also super suspicious about this autopsy, the whole thing, is that they didn't take Charlie to the closest hospital with a trauma center. They took him to like a regional hospital that didn't have a trauma center, and the CEO of that hospital was a new appointee, and the head of surgery, correct me if I'm wrong, was also brand. So you got a brand new judge overseeing this case. You got brand new FBI, because Kash Patel fired the head of the FBI in Utah. So everybody's brand new, and they didn't take him to the closest hospital, the trauma center. They take him to this other place with a brand new CEO and a brand new head of surgery, and we never get to see the autopsy.
Yep. And then so that's a little weird. There could be an innocent explanation, but it's still a little weird. But then, I mean, first off, this event is of the size where you are required to have an ambulance and medical team on site at the event. And so where was that? I can't help but feel like if there's a conspiracy going on here, which it looks like there is, then you would purposefully not have the ambulance there so you can control the body. Because the most important thing you have to do after an assassination like this is you have to control the body to cover up any evidence that you don't want to come out, like maybe a magic bullet or maybe 2 entry and exit wounds or whatever it is. I don't know. And I'm talking about kind of JFK stuff there, not about Kirk. But because they put him in a private car, they were able to take him to whatever hospital they chose. And then Charlie Kirk's body was turned over to J.D. Vance, which was very strange, and flown on Air Force Two. Like that's really weird. It's just kind of weird, right? Like J.D. Vance is the new scion of Peter Thiel. He's got all these weird questions about him. And I'm not saying that J.D. Vance is like some evil supervillain that was like, intentionally helped assassinate Charlie Kirk. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying it's a little weird. All these strange protocols that seem to not be followed that wound up with this extremely unlikely sequence of events that just obscures everything.
Now, I know you actually, I'm here with Ian Carroll. We're talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination, and I know you visited the campus, and I just wanted to show you there's so many sketchy things that are out of the ordinary that would never normally happen. And so here, Owen Schroyer tweets out, it's a week after the assassination, and the crime scene has already been deconstructed and prepped to be built on top of. Does this seem normal? And he tweets out this picture. Well, here's another picture. The new normal. The FBI hosing down a roof. What? And here's a CBS reporter telling you that they're paving over the grass where Charlie Kirk was assassinated.
This is the courtyard where it all happened. It's now open to the public again. There's lots of people coming here, placing flowers, cards, things like that. And the university is already making some changes. They're replacing the grass where Charlie Kirk was speaking with pavers.
So that's normal.
And there are several petitions online asking the school to make this into a permanent memorial for Charlie Kirk.
So they're paving over they were doing a lot more than just paving over the grass. I don't know if you saw, there's ladders and workers everywhere there.
Mm-hmm.
More people need to know that, well, here, look at this.
Yeah, they replaced ceiling tiles.
So look at this.
I got to see inside of that hatch.
What's in there?
And I got video of inside of that hatch. I didn't go in myself, but when I was there, I noticed that there was a worker with the hatch open working inside of it. And I was able to go up above him with my camera and shoot down into it and get video footage of what was in it. And so there's actually 2 hatches. The one that's open is further away from the wall. And then there's one that's closed a little closer to the wall. The one closer to the wall just had a sump pump kind of thing in it and was just a little hole in the ground. But the one that is open in this photo does have more space underneath it. It's like an open chamber that I don't know how far it expands in any direction. But I was able to see that there was hosing coiled up in the space beneath that clearly extended outwards in directions. And there's probably equipment to run the water feature in the courtyard there, I would assume. I don't think that the trap door is really suspicious in any way, but it certainly got the conspiracy theorists going. But this is suspicious. They're redoing the ceiling tiles after the grass and the pavers.
So there's actually a short video about this I'll play that kind of combines all the stuff. There they are. They're restuccoing the seal. What? Here, let's watch.
Let's see what are they doing, because I see a lot of construction smoke going on. Oh no, they are constructing. They are taking out the whole platform where he was sitting.
What?
Yep.
This is nuts.
I mean, it's borderline illegal.
Yes.
This is the courtyard where it all happened. The university is already making some changes. They're replacing the grass where Charlie
and it started like only a day or 2 afterwards.
Yeah, that's an active crime scene that they're paving over. So now when a defense attorney gets hired, they can't go back to the crime scene and do their own investigation because it's been completely scrubbed. The whole thing
I was talking to my police buddy from Boston PD today that actually often in murder cases, apparently they would even take the jury to the crime scene.
That's right.
To go over part of the case. And so like and we don't even see red tape up anywhere.
No.
I never saw a red tape line
Ever.
anywhere. So,
and there's more to this video. It gets even worse.
Yeah.
Look at them hosing. They're hosing it down.
Yeah.
So they're interspersing. So there's.
Yeah, that is a camera.
The security cameras. Where are they? Where's the video from those security cameras? And again, there's supposed to be an ambulance there. Why are they carrying him to an SUV?
What is that?
And now they're stuccoing over it. Why would you immediately, hey, we got to start stuccoing this whole thing.
Exactly. And this, like the ceiling of all places.
The ceiling, we got to start stuccoing. We got to pave over the grass. We got to re-stucco the ceiling.
They moved around a bunch of planters too.
So that's from Hustle Bitch, I guess, who put that together. Nice job.
Yep.
But so you were there and you saw it, weren't you? You had to be shocked that they were completely not only scrubbing, paving over the crime scene, stuccoing over the crime scene. That is, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And but that's what they do with all the assassinations. JFK's car, his car was scrubbed. Same thing with RFK. This is normal procedure for an assassination that's hooked up to an intelligence agency.
Yep. Or when you assassinate a couple of towers in New York City, they do it too.
Yeah, they did the exact same thing. They got rid of the evidence.
Anytime you need to cover up something fishy. But it really, in this case, it almost explains more than if they just hadn't tried to cover anything up at all. Because the only explanation in my mind is that there's a bullet somewhere and that they can't go looking to find it. And they don't want the police to find it. And it'd be awfully suspicious if they were digging around in the grass trying to take evidence away from the scene. Police have dogs that can sniff out bullets. And if there's a bullet that came from anywhere else that's not lodged in his neck, but actually exited his neck and is in the grass or in the pavers, I mean, if there's any kind of evidence from this, that would explain why they are redoing the entire crime scene. That seems pretty obvious to me. And I don't think I'm like some genius for figuring that out. I think we all pretty much see that.
I mean, that is unbelievably outrageous. That is, again, yes, not only...
It kind of destroys their case, right?
It completely destroys their case. Now, nobody can put up their own defense because they've adulterated I don't know if that's the right word, but they've completely compromised the crime scene.
Yep.
And
I think that compromising the crime scene like that, it compromises... I mean, it might not compromise all of the trails of evidence that they're going to try to bring to convict Tyler Robinson. But between that and no recovered bullet, so you don't have a trace to the gun, there's just so many pieces where we've got all of these Zionists online losing their minds that if you ask any questions, you're going to contaminate the jury pool and you're going to ruin the trial and all this stuff. And it's like, bro, the FBI is doing just fine at ruining the trial and contaminating the jury pool and destroying all of their evidence as it is. The online journalists aren't going to even be a drop in the bucket for how botched this case is at this point.
There's a lot of great signals that the establishment's lying about this and that this wasn't a lone nut gunman. That, to me, this is the biggest. They immediately get construction crews in there. Immediately you get construction crew. That is not supposed to be how you handle a crime scene, but that is how you handle an assassination scene if you're part of the assassination team. That's how you handle it. So,
and that's how they handled it right from the moment of the shooting too, because there's all this controversy around the actual scene immediately being wide open and like the camera guy just walking in and taking an SD card out of multiple cameras, which is clearly some of the most important evidence in the case. And we're just having civilians walking around taking evidence out of the active crime scene. Like no amount of scene control was ever done on that crime scene. People walking in the blood, standing on the chairs, taking things out of the scene. So that is, just like you said, the clearest evidence that this is something much bigger than a lone gunman.
And, the fact that TPS USA keeps lying about it.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, until Candace brings out evidence that they have to respond to, and then, to Andrew Colvitt's credit, he does a good job of coming out and seeming extremely genuine when he, admits that he also saw that text message, or he also like that was true. So I don't know what to make of that, but I'm very suspicious of TPUSA, and I'll be digging more into that later tonight because they have been doing nothing but obscure this case.
100%. And I have a little bit more on that. I want to ask you about. Let me throw it over to Steph for a super chat, and let me set it up.
All right, Savage, you're back. U.S. government has usurped powers away from the people of the United States. NSA spying is usurpation of power. They do not have the right to say national security and run over the U.S. Constitution. Okay, let's see here. Thank you, FSL. Much appreciated. Candace has, abiding. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. FSL, thank you. All right, here we go. Notice how the UN didn't take over the Chinese and the U.S. government under the responsibility to defend mantra after COVID-19 dropped. Funny, huh? Thank you, Savage. We had a political revolution, but still need an economic one. Yes, Savage. Thank you for that. Back to Jimmy.
Hey, it's Jimmy. And I'm here to encourage fans of the Jimmy Dore Show to follow us on all the socials, which is the term we influencers use to refer to social media. We know the establishment's constantly trying to suppress our message, so you may have to seek us out to make sure you're following the right accounts. On Facebook, we're at Jimmy Dore Show. On Twitter, some call it X, I still call it Twitter, we're at Jimmy_Dore. On Instagram, you can find us at The Jimmy Dore Show, all one word, and Jimmy Dore Stand-Up. That's for my stand-up clips on Instagram. TikTok keeps banning us, so we can't imagine why they're doing it, but it is really irritating, if you know what I mean. So make sure you're following our brand new TikTok account, which is at The Jimmy Dore Show. Oh, that's The Jimmy Dore Show with a 0 at the end. We're even on Red Note at Jimmy Dore Comedy, even though I don't know what that is. And then if you're not yet a member, we strongly encourage you to join up at jimmydore.com so we can get all our bonus content and watch the full show ad-free. You'll be glad you did. Hey everybody, it's Jimmy. That's me, Jimmy Dore. That's right. I'm the host of the Jimmy Dore Show. Did you know that? We know you're proud to be a fan and a supporter of the show, but do your friends, your family, your neighbors, and random strangers you pass on the street, do they know? Maybe not. And just as you like to keep informed by watching the Jimmy Dore Show, you can inform all those important and not so important people in your life about your love of the show with one of these. It's the authentic and branded Jimmy Dore Show t-shirts. We've got the classic logo, Jimmy Dore, and we also have the Jimmy Dore Show pop art. Look at that. Look at that. Nice, huh? And we also have one of my favorites. It's the Frederick Douglass quote. I would unite with anybody to do right and with nobody to do wrong. It's all available now at our website. Just go to jimmydore.com, then shop the merch, and you'll see there and many more options. And just click on mugs. Also, how about mugs? We got the mugs made in America. This is one of my favorites. It says "Vaxxed and Worried." Nice. We also have
that'll go over big with the guests. Their friends at the
This
office.
is a great mug. It says "Made in America" on the bottom. Jag-off, very thick, nice handle, thick glass. I love this one. Plus, we have stuff like this over there.
Mouse pads.
We got your Jimmy Dore Show stickers and logos, and we got your what do you call those? Coasters. Look at that. Look at this. Coasters, more coasters. So what are you waiting for? Get your Jimmy Dore Show t-shirt, mugs, coasters. Go get them today, jimmydore.com.